Well, hello there, and welcome to this webinar on Dime.Scheduler. It is a great day to be alive, and I am so happy you could join me here today to learn all about the new capabilities in our product. For the next 45 minutes or so, we will do everything to can to make this presentation as educational and entertaining as possible. There is literally no time to lose, so let's get straight to it. Let's start with some housekeeping, beginning with the introduction of the speakers. This handsome devil here, that is me. The name is Hendrik, and I am the product manager and your humble host for today. And I am joined once again by the commander-in-chief, the boss man, Tom. The agenda for today is pretty straightforward. We will begin by giving you an overview of the new features, followed by a demonstration that will highlight some of these. And quite frankly, it will blow your socks off. And finally, we'll take a glimpse into the future with an update on a roadmap, so you know what's coming down the pike. As always, should you have any questions throughout this presentation, there is a Q&A box at the bottom of this window, which you can use to ask your questions. We will get back to them at the end of the session. If we are unable to answer them today, we will get back to you later. And finally, this session is being recorded. I will make it available afterwards on our YouTube channel. Alrighty, let's get started. If you are as curious as this fluffy animal here, you may be wondering what is up with Dime.Scheduler. Well, 2020 has certainly been an interesting year for us. You may remember the memo from back in April that Continua acquired our business unit that distributed their products. It took us some time to adjust to this new situation, but it has proven to be an opportunity in disguise. Now that we've been focusing exclusively on Dime.Scheduler, we're seeing some awesome results. But I will not go into any further detail, and I'll strictly focus on the product rather than the company. So the question then is, what have we been doing on the software? Well, we've been keeping our promise with major advances in the cloud area. We are now fully functional on Azure, and as a result of a lift and shift operation, we can run Dime.Scheduler on both on-premise and cloud environments using the same technology stack. In addition, our connector extension for Business Central is now available on AppSource. And the latest version of the product also includes the initial release of our brand new Office 365 based Exchange connector. We already had a connector for that, but this was a third-party tool and out of our control. In contrast, this one is managed by us and it's state-of-the-art, whose underlying technology gives us many more opportunities to connect with other applications in Office 365. But I'll get back to this when we cover the roadmap. Furthermore, we added a bunch of new features. Popular requests like export to Excel and PDF have been developed. Pretty much every grid in the application can be exported to Excel, and you can print out the planning of the planning board and the Gantt chart to PDF, which you can then share with your customers, technicians, drivers, and so on. Also, we added a brand new read-only planning view, which can be used to display in lobbies or in the warehouses or on your resources mobile devices. And finally, we added a bunch more tools to the planner's utility belt with features like bulk updates and quick updates of indicators. Also, we have advanced copy-paste capabilities, and also splitting appointments is a possibility today. As we promised earlier this year, we would not only serve the planners and end users, but also redirect some of our efforts to make the life of yourself easier. The most conspicuous area in which this becomes apparent is the all-in-one installer. Now, the only thing that you have to do with this installer is to fill out the form, click out the button, and the installer will take care of the rest. Now, this installer can also be used to deploy the necessary artifacts on Azure, like virtual machines, SQL databases, networks, disks. So you really can get from nothing to a fully functioning instance of Dime.Scheduler with very little effort. And finally, we have the usual suspects, which are always at the top of our minds, which are performance, stability, and docs. Talking of which, everything we tell and show you today is written down in our docs. If you go to docs.Dime.Scheduler.com, you will find everything you need to know about the product. We have documentation for the users, for administrators, for NAV consultants, for developers, and so on. There is something for everybody. But because there is so much information already there, it might be a little bit overwhelming. Because of that, I would like to bring to your attention our powerful search engine. Because the entire website is indexed by this search engine, you can just look for the thing you are looking for. For example, if I want to learn more about recurring appointments, I just go to the search box and I start typing. And immediately you'll get some recommendations. If I click on this page here, I will be redirected to the article that will give me all the information I will ever need about this particular topic. Inside an article, you have a lot of cross-references to related topics. For instance, you can continue reading about the planning board. So definitely go check it out. It can be useful as a resource for extra support. With that, you've seen a very quick overview of what's been done this year. It's time for me to stop talking and introduce you to Tom Taffin. You all know this guy. He is the managing partner and Dime.Scheduler is his brainchild. So it's needless to say, he is the perfect guy to go to get a cracking demo. So Tom, take him away.
Thank you very much, Hendrik, and also, of course, hello and welcome everybody from my side. Thank you for joining us here today. I'm always very excited to present you the new stuff and show you the things we have been working on during the past months. And as Hendrik said, our focus for the past months was basically on you, our partner. We wanted to make it easier for you to install, to configure, to integrate the product. Hence, a lot of the things that we have been doing are, I would say, behind the scenes, invisible for the actual user. But that, of course, doesn't really prevent us from showing you some of the results here today. And I would like to start with the installation and the setup of Dime.Scheduler. For the less technical people in the webinar today, please bear with us. We will not dive into all the details. I just want to give you an overview of the different steps that you need to go through to install Dime.Scheduler. Some people have already been working with our new installer, but you will see that already also in this new version, we have some new features built into there. So to make the life easier for customers without on-premise servers, we implemented the possibility to spin up an Azure virtual machine directly from our installer, and that is where we are basically going to start here. So I have an environment here ready, or actually the environment is not ready yet, the installer is open. And what we're going to do here with this tab in the installer, the Azure tab, is we're going to just insert some details about the Azure virtual machine that we want to create, like the name, the resource group, the size of the machine, which I will come back to in a second. And also, of course, the databases, the SQL on Azure databases that we want to create. So everything that we will do today will run in the cloud. So from the moment that is filled in, we can hit the deploy button. And you will see that a PowerShell script will open up. And that PowerShell script will do all the magic, of course, after we identified ourselves. So we just need to log in first with our Azure or Office 365 username. We also need to insert the password, of course. And then let's just approve that with the two-factor authentication. There we go. So once we are successfully logged in, you will get normally another pop-up screen, which is going to ask you in which subscription of your Microsoft Azure do you want to install this. If you have only one, of course, you will not get this screen. So let's select this one here, hit OK. And now the PowerShell magic will start. Basically, it will start creating the resource groups on Azure. It will start creating the virtual machine. It will start creating the databases. So everything that you set up in the installer. So let's have a look on how that looks in the Azure portal itself. So we have here an overview of our resource groups in this subscription. So let's just refresh the screen and have a look. So there we see already a new resource group that has been created. And if we click on it, you can already see there was a virtual machine created. Well, it's not actually finished, but it's being created at the moment. Some databases will be created. So we will not wait for that today. Otherwise, this webinar would take us way too long. What I already did this up front. So I already have a second environment set up, which we're going to navigate to in a second. where we then are going to install Dime.Scheduler. So basically, we now just created the environment where we are going to install the application. There is one thing I would like to point out, and that is another article on our docs portal, which is the Dime.Scheduler on Azure. If you type in Azure in the search box, you will find this. This will give you a bit more information about the specs of the machines. That's a question we get quite often from the partner network is, okay, we have a customer, we want to host them on an Azure server. What are the specs that we need? So we put some size recommendations here at the bottom where we have development and test environments, lightweight instances, heavy workload instances with a minimum and a maximum recommendation. So that's something to get you started. Of course, everything depends on the number of users that are going to be planning, how much they will be planning. Will they be planning like all day long or just a couple of times a day? So a lot of that will determine the specs that you need. So if things are not clear after reading this article, feel free to reach out to us and we can certainly help you with some further recommendations. So as I said, I prepared already this environment, which we have just been creating. So this is the virtual machine that we created. I'm actually logged into it. I downloaded the installation package, and now I'm running the same installer again, but we're now looking at the second tab, which is the installation tab. So we will now install the actual software, the Dime.Scheduler software. So we need to fill in, of course, a couple of details, like the name of the website, on which port it will run, where the SQL databases will be hosted, etc., etc. It's basically like you would install Business Central on a server. Now, something that is new here is the tab Exchange. Let's just navigate to that one. The Exchange tab will cover the installation of our new Exchange connector, which Hendrik just mentioned. So this connector will also have his own plugin with his own little website to monitor any potential errors coming from the Office 365 services. And as you can see here at the bottom, we will need to create an app registration on Microsoft Azure. You will require a client ID, tenant ID, and a client secret. So these are things you get back from Azure when you create that app registration. The new connector will communicate with Microsoft Graph, so not with the Exchange Web Services anymore, as this was in the past. Big advantage there is security and permissions. In the past, you had to put permissions for every mailbox separately. Now you don't need to do that anymore. So from Microsoft Graph on, you can just give your consent as an administrator for all the mailboxes of your organization, also new mailboxes in the future. So that is a big win for us and for you in order to get things up and running. You can see also there is at the bottom of the screen category presets. So this will be a standard category that will be sent together with the appointment on Exchange. So they will get a certain color to differentiate them with the rest of the planning of the user in Outlook. So once we filled in all the details, again, we can hit the deploy button after accepting the software license terms. Again, some PowerShell magic will happen. So that means that we will install the prerequisite components on that server. Like .NET frameworks, like IIS, like MSMQ, etc. Some websites will be created. So everything you needed to do manually in the past will now be done automatically. That's basically the message I want to bring you here today. After that is done, there is an extra step that we need to do, and that is configuring Dime.Scheduler. So let's go again to another environment, because we will not wait until this one is finished. This will take 5 to 10 minutes normally. So let's switch to another environment. Let's go here, and you can see now a third tab in the installer, which is also brand new, which was not there in the previous versions. With this tab, we allow you to configure some things in one go, where you needed to go to four or five different pages in the past. So what can we do here? You can insert a license. You can set up some company base data, like the name and the address. You can insert the map token, some redirect URLs, etc., etc. You can see all the fields on the screen. The only thing we need to do then, once this is inserted, we just need to hit the configure button. So let's do that now. There we go. And Dime.Scheduler will be configured. So you can see here, we activated the license and we inserted all the data which is listed there. Basically, we now have an up and running Dime.Scheduler version from zero, so from scratch, to an online version that is running. Now, let's set up the integration. Therefore, I have a Business Central sandbox here hosted in the cloud. So this is a SaaS sandbox. As Hendrik said, we have our extension also available in the cloud now on the marketplace or on AppSource. So let's just move to that marketplace. And let's go and have a look for the Dime.Scheduler extension. So if you just type in Dime, you will already get it. We will install it. There we go. Install. And now we just need to wait 1 minute. In the meanwhile, while doing that, we can just browse to Dime.Scheduler and have a first login there. So this is again our Azure machine that we created. So let's log in. And since it's the first time we log in, we just need to insert, of course, language or choose a language and a time zone. This will be Brussels in this case. There we go. And submit that. Good. So in the meanwhile, I hope that our extension was installed. So let's refresh Business Central and let's have a look for Dime.Scheduler and our wizard. It's what I want to open. There we go. So we can open up our fast track wizard and now we can just set up the connection. So I just need to copy here the URL from Dime.Scheduler. I can paste it here in the scheduler URL. Of course, I need to remove the double HTTP there. Otherwise that will not work. And then we need to insert the user and the password. So let's see if the connection is working. Of course, we need to select always allow, hit OK, and there we go. Connection is OK. We can send our resources. Let's also enable service order or service management integration. Let's skip all the rest, you know, the wizard, and let's go to finish. And if all is well, so if the synchronization goes well, we now, if we go to Dime.Scheduler, we should see some resources popping up in the screen here. So we went from 0 to a fully functioning environment. Okay, in 10 minutes now, we skipped some parts, of course, but just to show you how easy it is and how easy we try to make it to get things up and running from our side. Good, then of course I would like to show you some features also, and I would like to start with the Exchange connector. In order to do that, I will just, let's just see, move here, and then I'm going to move to this environment here. This is an environment with a bit more data included that makes it easier to progress in a fast way here. So we have Dime.Scheduler open. I have some planning filled in the planning board. We have a resource Linda here, and we would like to set up the Exchange integration. We did install the integration together with our installer. So now I just need to set up my resource. First of all, I need to go to the employee card, which I can open from Dime.Scheduler itself. So let's go to the employee card and we need to fill in an email address. So we have an address test@dimenx.com, which is a testing user. I already filled it in, so we can close that. And then I need to go to the resource card. On the resource, after installing our connector, you will see a field here, which is called Enable Exchange Synchronization. We can just enable that and synchronize the resource with Dime.Scheduler. There we go. That's done. So now for this resource, the sync should be active. So let's try. Let's just plan a couple of orders here. So let's put this service order here. I'm going to make a manual reservation also for this resource. Let's say administration day. There we go. And I'm going to put also here a URL. There we go. And then let's also plan an absence. So there's a holiday here for this resource. So we planned 3 appointments for resource Linda. So if we now go here to Linda, you can already see that the appointments are there. So appointments are pushed real time now. From the moment you change something, this will be pushed real time to Dime.Scheduler. So in other words, if I go back and I say, I want to put this over here. So on Friday, for example, in a couple of seconds, you will see that the synchronization will happen and that this appointment will move from here to next Friday. As you can see, this has just been moving. Just to show you why I put an URL in the body of this administration day, just to show you that this will become a clickable URL from the body of the appointment. Very interesting if you want to add some SharePoint documents, maybe a link to Business Central, or any sort of link that you want to add basically in the body of the appointment. So new Exchange connector uses, we're using Microsoft Graph, so no issues anymore with permissions. You can just grant I would say organizational permissions from the admin level, real time, like our back office connector. This Exchange connector is built in the same way, so it is pushing real time all changes to Exchange. Good. So let's minimize the browser here, and let's look at some other set of features which Hendrik mentioned. Those are our export features by huge demand from the partner channel. Two types of exports are now available in the application. We will have exports to Excel, and then we're talking about grids and tables like the grids that you see here, or the plan tasks, or anything else. And of course, also the graphical components like the planning board, like the Gantt chart, can now also be exported not to Excel, but to a PDF file in that case. So let's just make some examples. I'll have an export here of my open tasks grid. You can see this new button here, export. It's the Excel icon in it. If you click it, a file will be downloaded. If we open the file, very easy, very straightforward. You will have the data which was in your open tasks grid. So basically we have the column names here, and of course all the data in the same sorting, filtering, grouping as you had in Dime.Scheduler. So let's close that. And let's make another example. I would like to go to my planned tasks grid here. And let's say we want to see the planning for this week. We want to export the planning of this week. So let's just filter in the planned tasks planning for this week. We are going to sort them by starting date. So the earliest will be first and the latest will be last. And I would like to see that grouped by my resources. So let's group by this field, and maybe potentially I can also filter this on my, I want only persons to be shown in here, no other types of resources. Okay, so that's the result. Now we want to export this, so hit the Excel button. And just to show you that also the grouping will be exported together with the grid. So now we have an overview of our resources with start and ending. The start and end can also include the time if you want. It's just a formatting in Excel. So if we click here, you can see it also contains the time, of course, that was exported. So that's the result of the grids. Also, maybe a small thing, which was not there in the past. You can now also just copy data from the cells in Dime.Scheduler. This was not possible in the past. You could actually copy full rows and just copy and paste that to Excel. That is now also possible. Good. That's the, I would say, the data point of view. Now we want to see it also in a graphical way. Therefore, we implemented PDF export functionality. So we have some appointments here on screen. So if I click here on the export button, again, we will, not again, but we will get some options presented. These options will allow us to choose if you want only to export what we see on the screen, or also what we have, let's say, if we scroll down on the screen. You could choose the single page, multiple pages, the page size if you want. If we choose single page, the page size will be automatically created by the system, and it will just create the most optimal page size to display everything. Because you could select 1 week, you could select 4 weeks. It all depends on what you want to see, of course. So let's just export that. And have a look at the results once that's finished. There we go. So we get a PDF document. And as you can see, it's basically a copy of what you see on the screen. So we can see here our resources. We can see the resource types and the different colors, different appointments with the subject of each appointment in there. What if you want a detailed planning? Well, we can just easily switch to a day view. So if I right click here, this is also something new. You can now immediately switch to a day view by right clicking here. Let's also print that one again, export. And again, as you can expect, you will have a PDF file with the detail. So you see this is now a bit wider. The page is a bit wider because it was automatically sized based on what we actually want to see. You can also see the grayed out areas are also copied correctly to the PDF export. Now, where this becomes even more interesting is in the Gantt chart. You have a project plan. You might want to send that project plan to your customer. Let's first put this one back to week view because I need that one later on. Okay. So if I just go to a project here and I say open project, it will be opening in the Gantt chart. This is a project I already prepared up front. That means that we have some dependencies, milestones. We actually have also some resources, I think, yes, assigned to it. So let's say we want to print this and send this to our customer. We can easily do that. Just hit the print button again, export. And as you will probably be expecting, that will again make a printout. So as you can see here, we have the detail now of all the tasks. The dependencies are there, the milestones are there, so everything is there that you want to send to the customer. If you don't want to, for example, send this column or these columns, you can just hide them in your UI, save that layout as a sort of a printing layout, and just open it when you want to export something to PDF. Of course, again here, I will not show everything, but again here we can change this to a more high-level view, year per month, for example. If you do this, it will be printed like this, so no detail per day will be available in that case. So it will make a copy of the view that you see on screen. So that's it for the export features. And to finalize, I would like to show you some smaller things that we did. Some, I would call them usability features, some things that will make life of the user or should make life of the user easier. And to start with, I would like to talk first very briefly about profiles and layout. Most of you will be familiar with profiles and layout. So the profile is the placing of all the panels here on the screen, where everything is, how big it is, etc. And then the layout will be any panel separately, the sorting, filtering, the position of the columns, etc. Now, for the layouts, we have a new button here. Sorry, for the profiles, we have a new button here, the new profile button. What this will do, well, I think that speaks for itself. So if you click this, a new profile will be created. In the past, you always had to restart the application to be able to create a new profile. You can just hit new here now, and it will start the application like you would start it for the first time. So it will give you a blank profile with the default settings, not like the one you're seeing here, which I set up for this demo. Regarding layouts, we also made some changes. So let's say we are, during the day, you're working with these grids and you are just changing some stuff in these grids. So for example, you want to put a filter which is not equal to holiday. Nobody wants to do that, of course, but anyway. So now the holiday is gone from the list. Let's say you put some other filters, you change some sorting during the day. If you want to go back to your previous status of that grid, you basically had to reload it or restart the application. In this case, we have a reset button here now. If I hit this reset button, this will reset to the last saved status of that grid. So it just brings you back to your initial data set, which adds a lot of value if you're filtering during the day. Same counts for the planning board. So if I put a filter here on a certain resource, I also have this resource or reset button also here. So every grid will have this, this reset button. Then the planning board. Very important, of course. We also made some nice smaller features there. And one thing I find very cool are our indicators here. You might know the indicators, they were already there in previous versions, but they would only serve like a table of contents to explain what each color means, right? You would have the codes or the name and the color. We now added or extended this a bit, so you can now also see the explanation of the time markers of the pins, so the pins on the geographical map. But what you can also do now is drag and drop these values directly onto the appointment. So let me just move this one here a bit, so that's a bit closer, and let's make it a bit longer. Okay, so we have this appointment. If I look at my service order, so let's open the Business Central service order. You can see that our repair status code is initial. and that the service order type is preventive maintenance at this moment, right? That means the service order type is the green color and the repair status code is like the time marker, the small line that you see here on the bottom. What we can now very easily do is say, I want to put it in process, so I can just drag and drop this there. You will see it turns orange. And if we go here and hit F5, you will see that now the order is put in process. It's a small example. We can, of course, also say I'm going to update the category to whatever hardware. This will, of course, not do anything in Business Central at this moment, but it's just to show you that whatever these colors mean, category and time marker, it doesn't really matter. You can now very quickly upgrade them or update them. In the past, you had to double click, you had to go here, you had to click, click, click. So there was a lot of clicks. So we now try to reduce that with this. Also, the priority. You can see the icon here, which is now a low priority. We also have here the importance indicators now, so I can very easily say this is now a high priority, like this. And you can see immediately that this will be indicating a triangle instead. Furthermore, some more improvements on the planning board is the splitting of appointments. So I can now very easily right-click on an appointment and say split. It will cut the appointment in two appointments. So as for example, I can now move this one here. So instead of copy pasting and changing the duration, you can just split it in two and you're good to go. Now, there's actually another way of splitting that we can do. We have the splitting over time, so I would call it the horizontal split. What we can also do is split in a vertical way by a resource. So let's say we have an appointment with multiple resources. So let's just add one here. So I think if I move this one, we will see we now have 1, 2, 3 resources linked, right? Okay, let's put it back. If I now right click, you will see there's another menu shown here. It's the disconnect assignment option. And you have two options. You can remove the resource. So let's do that. Remove the resource, does what it says. It will remove the resource from this appointment. So it's a quick way of just removing one resource from an appointment. In the past, again, you had to go to the editor and remove the resource manually. Now, if you right click again, we can also now say, create separate appointment from the one you clicked on. So if we do that, you will see that nothing at first sight, nothing will change, but if we just move that, you will see that they are now not linked together anymore. So it's another way of splitting. We can split over time, but we can also split over the number of resources. Please also note, I didn't show you, but if you add a new appointment, a new resource to an appointment, you will get an extra visual indicator now. This icon here, which is showing you that you have, or that this is an appointment containing multiple resources. Something I will not show today, I'm just going to tell you, is that you can now also copy, cut, and paste over multiple plan boards. So as you all know, you can have multiple instances of a plan board on screen. In the past, you could not copy and paste or cut and paste between those plan boards. That is now also possible with the latest version. And then two things to finalize. One thing is we started the way to white labeling the application. So it is now also possible to insert your own logo into the application. So if you go to the application setup, you have a logo tab here now. So we could just choose a logo file. Let's see, I have one here. It's just a demo logo, and then upload it. So if I would now log out of the application, you will see instead of the Dime.Scheduler logo, you can now see the demo company here. This is, as I said, the first step to white labeling. So feel free to just put your own logo or the logo of the customer in there. That will it feels a bit like home, I would say. And then the final thing I would like to show you, let me just close Business Central in the meanwhile. Yes, you can close. Is a new menu item here. This is our first step to, I would say, a sort of a consulting view of the planning. We have a day, week, and list view. So if I would click here on list view, you will get an overview of your planning of this week per day. by time it is planned. So this could serve as a sort of, as Hendrik said, a lobby view. An example in a car dealership, for example, people are waiting for their car to be finished for maintenance. So these colors could indicate the status, etc., etc. So this is, as I said, a first step. We will be waiting for your comments on this. You can also have a look on a week view like this. So this is more a graphical view again, or graphical overview. As you can see all your appointments here. So this really doesn't make lots of sense. But what you can do is in the URL, we can start filtering out data by the resource number. So we could basically show this view only for one resource. And then of course it gets interesting because that allows us to display the planning for one resource for the resource itself. The nice thing is that this is also available on mobile devices. So I just prepared a view here for Linda. So you can see here in the URL, we just inserted some parameters. Resource is Linda. Minimum time is 8, maximum time is 16. So we get actually the planning that we just created. You get that one here. So if you now go, for example, just hit F12 and go to a iPhone X, you can see that this will perfectly work, which is not the case with the base application because there's too much on the screen of the base application. So we have been looking for a very simple view so a resource can see his or her own planning. Of course, the Exchange connector goes further and will go further in the future, where we will make it possible to sync also things back from Outlook to Dime.Scheduler. But Hendrik will tell you a bit more about that. That was it for me. So Hendrik, back to you.
Thank you, Tom. Now, before we move to the next order of business, I would like to take the time for a little celebration. We actually have an anniversary. Today is a birthday of a dear friend of mine. His name is Tom, and he just finished giving a demo about the planning application. So, Tom, happy birthday, man.
Thank you.
The second anniversary is one that we almost forgot about. Dime is 10 years old this year. Well, that's not very important, and it's even less interesting. And I know what you're thinking right now. Why the hell is this bloke bringing that up then? Please bear with me. I'm trying to convey a message of hope, knowing that more than 90% of the companies who fail within the first 10 years of their existence. So that can only mean one thing for us. It's going to be all sunshine and rainbows from now on. But that's enough sentiment for now. Let's move on to the next topic, which is an update on our roadmap. Some of you may remember that back in February, we unveiled our vision and our roadmap for the product. Again, this is all documented, and I'm not going to repeat myself, but the message is this. Everything we said back then still applies today, so the priorities all remain intact. We identified 5 key areas to work on, and so far everything that we've done is in accordance to that roadmap. The installer, the Exchange connector, the PDF export, they are all a direct result of that. And given the cracking progress we've been making, we intend to keep it that way. Although for the next year, we'd like to shuffle things around just a little bit. To take Dime.Scheduler to the next level, we need to pay more attention to the cloud and on automation. So that implies that we'll continue to make massive investments in the product development. For starters, we'll want to convert Dime.Scheduler to a service-based application, otherwise known as SaaS. Not only will this make your life easier as a consultant or as a salesperson, it will also make our lives a lot easier. I would say that at least 70% of our support goes to installation and configuration issues. This could massively drop our support, and as a result, it will improve your experience as well. Secondly, and I'm quite excited to get started on this one, it's the automation optimization module. In fact, we've already started this process. We've put the wheels in motion, and we will work together with governmental institutions, with universities and industry experts to use artificial intelligence to create optimized schedules, taking into account constraints like skills, regions, availability, certificates, and so on. It's going to take a while before we get there, but once it's ready, it will blow everybody out of the water. And I can't think of any company who wouldn't want to use this service. Now, I think you'll agree with me, it's going to be a very complex operation, but if you dumb it down enough, we already have the basic ingredients. Let me bring in the good old chalkboard here. We have resources, we have tasks, and our constraints, what we call filter groups and filter values in Dime.Scheduler. If we put these three in the AI blender, we'll get a delicious and optimized planning smoothie. So we're almost there. Just have to figure out designing this blender. Next, I'm going to take you on a little mini tour of the features that we intend to build in the future. In the maturity category, we have the usual suspects. So better performance and stability, one-click deployments. So you've already seen a teaser of that. We're only getting started on this area. We'll continue to make a lot more documentation and also an on-demand training platform. All of these should help lower that threshold and flattening that learning curve. In the integration category, we have plans on creating a bidirectional exchange connector so that not only appointments will be pushed to the calendars, but also the other way around back to Dime.Scheduler. This technology used in the Exchange connector can also be used to create connectors for other systems in the Office 365 suite, like Microsoft Bookings, Microsoft Planner. We even have partners who use Power Apps to integrate Dime.Scheduler with their own apps or even mobile apps. So we will be exploring ways to tap into that platform as well. And finally, we're still set to create a standalone connector so we can serve the really small SMEs who don't even have an ERP. To conclude, or to finalize, we will also continue to add some more tools to the Planner's toolkit with enhanced features like advanced project planning and route-based planning. And in tandem with the automation area, we will make it possible to create ad hoc time slots as an add-on to the calendar system. And obviously we have the appointment containers that will allow the planner to bundle groups of appointments in the planning board. If some of these sound appealing to you, or if you have no clue what I'm talking about, drop us a line and we can have a chat. And maybe we can use your input and your feedback into the design of those features. So I think you'll all agree there's a lot coming up. We're quite looking forward to get cracking on each and every one of them, but not all our efforts will go to the development of the product. This might take another hour, so I'll just keep it short. For next month, we'll be attending the Directions for Partners event. We have a virtual booth, so come say hi and we'll have a chat, quite literally. Even if you don't, I hope you can attend this conference and enjoy your time from your cozy home. And in 2 weeks' time, we will host another webinar. This time it's going to be a 101 level introduction to Dime.Scheduler. This is perfect for everybody who is new to the product or who is interested in learning more. So please invite your customers, invite your prospects to this webinar, and we'll give a demo on the capabilities of Dime.Scheduler and its integration with NEV and Business Central. It's the same time as today, so it's 4 p.m. for continental Europe, 3 p.m. for the UK and Ireland. That's 11 a.m. for the East Coast, 8 a.m. for the West Coast, and for the brave souls down under and New Zealand, it's going to be 1 a.m. You can reach us through the following channels. Our support is here for you. And also we have the docs, so please check it out. If you want to talk business, this is the email address to go to, or you can fill out the form on our website. We're also on social media. I recommend you follow us on LinkedIn, since that appears to be the most appropriate forum for us. And the good old clock on the wall tells me it's time to wrap up, but I think there's time for some questions. So Tom, if you can unmute yourself, I will ask you the questions and you can give your expert opinion on this. Okay, here's an interesting one. Will the new Exchange connector have an impact on the licensing costs?
That's a very brief or short answer. The answer is no. The license cost stays the same. So it's still an optional module, but the pricing does not change.
Okay, thank you. The next one, will this connector be supported for BC 17?
Again, a very short answer. Yes, it will be. The BC 17 package will be included in our next release, which is end of, I'm looking at you now, end of this month, yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you. While we're on the topic, is the Exchange connector just available with the BC extension or also with the old NAV object?
It's separate from the nav for BC. So basically, it will also work with the old nav objects. It is a new connector which is linked to Dime.Scheduler, and it has nothing to do with the extension or the object. So it will be available for both.
Okay, I think there's time for just one more question. Can the installer also be used for upgrades?
Again, a short answer, yes. That's the whole plan, so that you install it with the installer, and also upgrades can be done very smoothly with the same installer.
Okay, thank you, Tom. I think this is all we have for today. So thank you for attending. Enjoy the rest of your day and hope to talk to you soon. Goodbye.